like I was saying, I've done a lot of work to get this thing started so I didn't have to spend 4 hours with you trying to explain all this silliness. And this is my practice from yesterday. No, that's not my practice, that's my setup. There it is. Isn't that cute? And it is a salt shaker. And that's kind of what it looked like during some of it. And then I drove a hole there and put in the PVC thing, and then I was able to turn all of this stuff away. And they come in sets of 3. Yay rah. And if you want to know what type of turning, it's called therming. If you wanted to make a bunch of square spindles for a staircase, you can make a big plywood wheel and do them all at once, or a bunch of them at once. All right, now back to what I was doing here. Let me see. Oh, come on now. That's this camera. All right. And this is okay. So if you were standing on the other side of the lathe from me, this is what you'd see. And what I've done, hello, I forgot to mute everybody, didn't I? Okay, mute all. All right. Now, if you want to say something to me, you have to push the space bar. Okay. That isn't the picture I wanted to show you, so we'll go to this one. That's tailstock view. What I did is I've got very carefully squared 3 pieces of wood, and I cut them off very square on the ends, and very carefully centered all of them. And I've got a screw in here and one on this end holding the thing together. And then I've got a 120-degree piece of plywood screwed in here so to keep them from twisting. And on my salt shakers, let me get this so you can see it. I've made a little jig, a little ruler that's got the marks for the layout. And I've got them transferred to the piece of wood. I don't know if you can see them or whether it's blown out. There you go. Kind of. Well, at any rate, there's marks. There's a mark here, 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 and here. And when I turn it on and go to there, you can see the marks. And it almost stands still if I get it going exactly the right speed. There you go. So those marks are what I've got to turn to the finished depth. But I made some, throw it on the ground, I made some little gauges for when I was turning them round, but when you turn them square, you're only turning one side. So you've got the profile is going to be like this, and you see this part of the wood gets in the way, so you can't use this. So this piece of wood is 60 millimeters. This diameter on the finished piece is 28 millimeters. So if I take 60 and subtract 28 from it, that gives me a 32, and divide that by 2 because I'm only going to measure on one side. I've got to go down from right here 16 millimeters. So without further ado, and at this line and this line, I've got to go down 7.5 millimeters. So without further ado, let's do that. Now let's see, I'll put my hat on. Is this view good for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm just going in with a parting tool. And I'm going to have to stop and check the depth. Okay, so right there, that depth is only 3 millimeters, and I've got to go to 7, so I've got to go that much further again. So well, oops, that's 8. Oh, no, it's not. If you zero it before you measure, that's 3.5. Okay. So I've got to go a little bit deeper. That wood is growing back faster than I can take it off. What I found out when I did my practice run yesterday was that if you don't have a depth to go to, your piece turns up cockeyed looking. Okay, that's 6.1, so I got another millimeter to go. Let's see what that looks like. Well, six and a half. I gotta get a depth gauge from my parting tool, I guess. Let me measure again just to it's got a little step on the foot there, and I keep getting that on the edge, and it's growing back. All right. Well, all right, there you go. That's the right depth for that. I got to do the same at this mark. So I can cheat a little bit here. Put a mark on my parting tool. Maybe not waste so much time measuring.
Question, you went to the left of your line that you had there, or dead on?
Right in the middle of it.
All right, thanks.
That's another millimeter to go. Yeah, these are just landmarks. These are just landmarks for when I turn the body of it down. Yep, there we go, 7.5. All right, now this one, I've got to go down 16 millimeters. So that was 7, so I got about double that one. And here we go again. And again, this will teach you some stuff about the parting tool. It's turning a lot of air, and it's just rattling to keep the band. I get nervous and have to stop and measure because I have cut things in two with the lathe. When I wasn't expecting to. 13.
On most of the wood on that you're cutting through right there is waste.
Yes.
On each side. So
yes.
If you needed to make a relief cut for your parting tool, you could.
Yes. Which is what I'm going to do right now. And I see that it's fuzzing up kind of bad, so I'm going to make my relief cut with this one. This one does not like interrupted cuts as much as I'd like for it to like them. Okay, but now I got wiggle room. I forgot what my measure was. I think it was 13. That's another 1.5 millimeters. $16, right on the button. All right, so that's my landmarks. I'm not going to turn this one because I'll turn that off later, but that's where the top of the shaker is going to be, because when I drill it to that depth. So this will be domed a little bit, and it'll have wood up here. So now that I've got my landmarks, I can go ahead and, this is kind of spindle turning, so I can use a spindle roughing gouge. When you're doing this, let's see, that one's got, yeah, you've got a good, view of that's only 600 RPM, but you've got a good view of profile that you're making. So it's important to watch your ghost image. You're looking straight down. Plywood from the 120 plywood and the nails and the screws and all of that stuff's living. I'm going to get into this bowl gouge. That sounded suspiciously like I hit a screw head, and I did. Okay. That's why I put that one on there. So, I was afraid that I was going to hit these.
I notice you have a lot of, I'll call it open space back there at the back of your pieces. Could you have made your plywood wheels a smaller diameter?
Yes,
Okay.
smaller or bigger. This was just a piece of scrap that I had in the warehouse, so I used it. All
I was
right.
thinking that a smaller diameter might mean you're turning less air. You have a smaller air gap.
Yeah, probably. But, you know, turning air is fun because you don't have to clean up the chips. All right. Let me see.
Hey, Ron, you muted us all, so there's no way we could respond.
Oh, no, I muted all of you guys. You got to push
Well,
the
that's what I'm
space
saying. You
bar.
made it funny, and nobody responded because we're all muted.
There you go. All right, now this is if you were standing over there looking down. So you're going to be seeing a different view now. Do is I want to get right to the middle of that mark that I made. And you got to be real careful about putting your fingers in here to see if it's smooth, because this thing will beat you to death before you can get shed of it. All right, we're getting pretty close to that. Let's see if I can clean up this side just a little bit. Not too bad. Okay. I don't know if you can see, where am I at here? If I were going to show you this, I'd have to move to the other camera. All right. Now, my mark that I put in, that's the back side of it, and the front side of it is right there. So I need to go to the middle of that mark. So I can just barely see it. Alright, that's pretty much where I want to be. Okay, so now I've got some tool marks in there. And you know what you do with tool marks, you sand them out. Alright, so I got some 120 grit paper here. when you decide to do this, if you don't have one of my sanders, don't try to sand it on the lathe. You'll hurt yourself bad. That took some of them down. Well, that's not really passable. I gotta go back to the 120. Alright, enough of the sanding routine. You've seen people sand stuff before. And you can chase tool marks all night with that sandpaper, but that doesn't look too bad. Especially if you look at it with the TV and not with your fingers on it. Okay. Now, I gotta go back here and address this area and a little bit of this area. And to do that, I'm gonna use this guy. You know what I always tell you about turn it by hand first? That's so you don't make a damn fool of yourself when you're on the Zoom meeting. That brought that down. I've got to take a little bit more. Thought I was all the way to the bottom. There you go. Now I'm all the way to the bottom of my wood here. Now, on this side, I'm going to come up here a ways. Now that's all in the waste wood. It's waste wood from about here up. I just wanted to have a thing that I'll be able to curl over into. You gotta have a place for the chips to go. And what I'm doing is I'm getting down. You can see that line from the parting tool. And that's just about got it all gone. I'm going to go not as easy picking up that line when you're cutting air, because the air, of course, doesn't have any marks in it. All right, that's sanded off good enough for me. Okay, so that's one side done. Now what we have to do is go to the next side. In order to do that, it's got to come off of the lathe. So, bear with me while I get this thing off of the lathe. Oh, come on now. Be nice. No, that ain't gonna do it. Alright, lock the spindle on. There we go. Well, you dang digit. You got yourself to where you can't let go, and you gotta let go to get this thing unlocked. Oh. Alright. And we'll lock that back down. And I'm going to try to get over here to this other camera. No, don't do that. Alright. Now if I can get stuff cleared off here without killing myself. Get stuff out of the way. Move your phone before you unscrew it. Alright. Now, unfortunately, I need to be at a different height with that. I can't be at a different height, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to loosen these top screws just enough, and then the bottom screws we're going to take out. Alright. Now, what we're going to have to do, we're going to turn it towards us, quarter turn, set it back down, then I've got a mark over here on one of these. I've got a mark over here somewhere. I had a mark over here once upon a time. I can't find it. Well, they ought to be all the same anyway. And I have outfoxed myself again. Okay. I meant to leave this square, and I didn't. So I've got to make my turn 180 degree turn on that. And then I'm going to put the screws back in it, but I've got to do them a little bit at a time so that I get them back in the hole that they came out of. You gotta kind of fiddle around with it. Look in the little gap here. Get the light just right. And when it drops into the hole, you're in good shape. Then we can go back and tighten everything back down again. Sorry about the way the video is set up. Maybe I'll do the next one. Once you get one side tight, then you go back and retighten the other side. Okay. Now back over here.
90 or 180?
I went 180 degrees on these
Okay.
so that I'd have two square sides.
And 2 round sides.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I made a mistake, and I wanted to remember to leave this edge square, but I got so excited because I was making chips, I just forgot. So when I get these 2 round sides, I'm gonna have to do something different with these little these little pieces here to clamp the thing. But now I've got to go back and make my marks again. And I've got this thing marked which way is top and which way is bottom because it makes a difference. And I've got a board there at the end so that I'm registering correctly for all my little V cuts here. It doesn't take a whole lot. Just got to get into that little V and make a mark. Okay. And then I took a square and mark a line at 90. On each of these. And I'm going to make a little bit of an error on each one of these marks, but because I've got 3 of them and the parting tool is wider than the error lines are going to be, it'll all work out just right. Well, it will if I can mark a straight line with a straight edge. I tell you, just can't get good help around here no more. All right, now turn it by hand. And that makes a nice mark that doesn't jump a whole lot. And then we got to do the same thing all over again. If I don't put this stuff down, it'll jump all over the place. 7.5 and 16. But I knew where they were at before. They're kind of down to that level, so I'm still going to have to stop and measure. Just won't have to measure as much. Now, that's 3, so 7 ought to be down there a ways. .3, so I'm going to call that good enough for that one. I'm going to go after this one. I can look at that one and see where this one's going, kind of. If that makes sense to anybody. It doesn't make sense to me when I set it. That's nearly 6. Seven and a half. Now on this one I got to go to 16. Now there'll be a little bit of variation from, that's 13. There'll be a little bit of variation from each one because they're not perfect. We're not working in a metal shop. We're just making them as good as we can get. .2.
Ron, how long are your blanks?
About 7 inches. 15 and a half.
The finished length would be about 5, almost 6 inches.
One more time.
Your finished length is only about 5, right?
6. This one is it's 6 inches across there, which is,
I remember. Yeah.
yeah, that's 6 inches right there. So on the other ones, I started with a 6-inch blank and lost a 1/4 inch on the top. Okay, we're back to where we were. We've all seen this part of it. And let's see here. Is that view good?
Yes.
Now, if I don't turn this part off, that may make my life easier. But if I don't turn it off now, I'm going to have to sand it off later. So since I've already turned one of them, I might as well turn them both. All right. And I had to pull my hood up so I could see what I was doing. I've got a little bit of variation going on there, not too much.
So your original intent was to have a square pedestal on the bottom of those, right? But you inadvertently turned it off, turned it
Yeah.
around to the edges.
It was square the whole way, and I had intended to leave this part right here square so that it would register over here, but I didn't. 23. So these are going to be a little bit skinny compared to what they're supposed to be. 5 millimeters, so 7/8 of an inch. Yeah, I'm not going to have much wood in the middle. I may have to make the hole down through for the salt. I may have to make it smaller. All right, now that we've got that kind of where we want it, I'm going to go back and figure this part out.
Ron, just double check me on that. That occurred because you made that center depth cut a little too deep?
Yeah, my parting tool cut wound up being a little bit deep. That's all. But that's all right. As I can I can drill full size for salt and then step down from 7/8 to 3/4 and go the rest of the way. And it'll still have salt in it. Do a parting tool, cut up there. And again, this one is in waste wood. I'm just getting it below to have a clearance for the chips to come out. Look at it. Ooh, I got to turn some more off of that. It's difficult to pick up some tool marks on an interrupted cut like that. You know, you want to start before the mark and all right. Now I've got a little bit of tear out right there that I'm going to have to address. Okay, we'll sand that out later. All right. Okay. Now, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to, because my stop here isn't going to work for these round sides, I think I'm going to leave it like this for right now and show you the next couple of steps. So, if you just think rinse and repeat, it'll be square. I'm just going to take one of these now. If you want to make sure that you can take it out, you take the screws all the way out, and they won't be holding on to it when you don't want them to. Okay, so we've got this, and I think I'm going to keep it like this for now. And I want to measure how much wood I've got in here in the middle. I think it'd be too small if I drill it with the 7/8 the whole way. But I may not have a choice on that because I don't have another drill, another Forstner bit that I can stick down in there. So we'll try it. And if it screws it up, well, it always shouldn't have. All right, come on. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tighten it up a little bit so that the jaws will hold it. Then I'm going to run up in here to the center that I had marked before. Loosen the jaws. That puts pressure on it this way. And now I should be able to do my drilling. Get this stuff out of the way so I don't poke myself in the toe. Now, am I going to have to move it? Probably. Probably going to have to get some room here. So, for those of you who have not seen the long bed version of the stubby, there it is. All right. Now, first things first. I put a 1-inch bit in and I hollow in about that deep. And that's to have a place for this thing to go. I'm not going all the way down. Now I'm gonna have to thin that out some. I'm not going all the way to the full depth of it because you don't need to. I mean, the cap that you put over that is only a little over, close to a 1/4 inch thick, so. And you just drill a hole. And it complains and hisses and spits and cusses at you and goes to screaming and carrying on. sawdust that gets all bound up in there and starts complaining. All right, run out of tailstock. Started too far back. Started so far back because I had to. That's it. Okay. Now, just to make this one presentable, and I've got two more to mess with, I can bring the tailstock up and I can round this side. I don't have to do anything. I can just, well, I could go in a little bit. Let's see what that looks like. As you can tell, there's no rules. That might work right. Let me see what it does. I'm not going to put the actually, it's right about there. Okay. That'll do, I think. Oh yeah, that'll give me a nice little pommel there and there. Now let me see if I can get the tool marks out of it. All right, that'll work. was nice. Almost got it all. Okay. Now, Russ, how much time do we have?
20 to 9, but you could go longer.
Okay.
There seems to be these interactive ones go longer.
All right.
It's kind of up to you.
Okay.
We'll have people stick around if
Well, I've got to do
you know. We've already.
a little bit of glue drying here because I wasn't clever enough to get ahead of the curve, but that's okay. It's 5-minute epoxy, so. Lord. Ah, you silly shit. When you are using pipe threads, one side won't start on a pipe, the other side starts real easy. That's because they're tapered. Yeah, I know that. I know you all know that. And what I'm doing here is I'm centering that silly thing. Oh, that's a long reach. Oh well. Now, all I'm doing is reducing the diameter of this plastic. So that it'll fit in there. All right, just about got it. Okay, so cut it off there. Didn't need that part anyway. Oh, I just love turning plastic, don't you? All right. What I'm making sure of is that that plastic goes all the way in and doesn't stick out below the bottom of the salt shaker. That did it. Okay. Wee little drop of glue. And then we get some glue in the hole. And I try to catch the squeeze out before it gets all over everything, and I'm never very successful at it. And tonight is no exception. So, when you can't do what you need to do, then all you can do is try to correct it by making a mistake everywhere. So instead of having a couple spots where that glue ran out onto the bottom, I'll just finish the whole bottom with the epoxy.
Well, that's just one of them old cheap stubby lathes anyway, isn't it?
Well, yeah. There we go.
Hey, Ron,
Yes, sir.
this is John Pargin. Hey, listen, I got to sign off. Thank you very much for this. Hope to see the finished product, but I got to go now. Take care. Thank you.
Okay, buddy. Later. All right. Now, while the glue is drying, Let me get over here to this one, and I'll come and talk to you. And take my hat off. Now, we've got 5 minutes. We can't do nothing for 5 minutes at least. So, I'll let anybody tell a joke that wants to. But I know what happens when I get an audience out here and ask them to tell a joke. They don't ever remember any. So, did you ever hear the one about the Irishman who retired? Well, this Irishman, he worked all his life, worked very hard, and he finally got to retirement age and retirement money, and he sold all his stuff in the city, sold his house, and moved to a quaint little village out in the countryside. I say it was a village because it only had one pub. And in Ireland, if you've only got one pub, that doesn't hardly make a village. But anyway, the guy got along real well. He moved his stuff in, bought a little place, moved his stuff in, and he went to the pub for a drink. And he said, "Bartender, I'd like 3 pints, please." And the bartender draws 3 pints and puts them in front of him. And he sits there for the rest of the night drinking his beer. He came in the next night. He talked to a couple of the other patrons in the pub there, and "Bartender, 3 beers, please." Bartender sets them down. This goes on for a while, and the bartender couldn't stand it. Finally said, "Lad, you know, I could serve these to you one at a time, and they'd stay fresh, and it would be a lovely thing." And the fellow says, "Oh, no, it's not that. It's me brothers. We made a vow that whenever any one of us had a drink, we'd drink together. We'd drink 3, 1 for each of us." Said, "I've got a brother that is in Dubai that's working, and another brother that's on the high seas in a grand, glorious ship. And whenever we sit down to have a drink, we always get 3. That way, none of the brothers are left out." And the bartender says, "That's a fine and lovely tradition. Good for you, lad." So as time went on, and the guy kept ordering 3 beers every evening, came in one evening and said, "Bartender, 2 beers, please." Oh, this was bad. This was bad. So, bartender gave him 2 beers, and he drank his beers and left. And then the word went around the village immediately. "Ah, one of the brothers is no longer with us. It's a terrible thing." So everybody that heard sent a card and some flowers to the pub for the fellow next evening when he came in to drink with his brothers. And the fellow came in and said, 2 pints, please." And the bartender set him up on the bar for him. The guy started drinking his beer, and he says, "Now, I'm new to these parts. Is there some kind of a holiday where you decorate the bar with flowers?" And the bartender says, "Oh, no, lad, those are for you." "For me? What in the world for?" He says, "Well, you've come in all this time and ordered 3 beers. And last night you came in and ordered 2. And we were just thinking that one of your brothers must have passed, and we're condolence for that. And the Irishman says, oh, no, 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 lad, me brothers are fine. Me brothers are fine. It's me that's quit drinking. Okay, is the glue dry yet? Well, not really. Okay, so my Shaggy Dog story took not long enough. Somebody else have a Shaggy Dog story? No? All right, well, we'll just have to stand here and look at each other. And while we're waiting for the glue to dry, I can do something. Okay. When I turned this thing, I turned the spigot to a particular size that just, let me go to this other camera here. Where are we at? No. Yes. Move this stuff out of the way. The diameter of the spigot just fits my drilling guide. It's a very tight fit, and right on there. Okay. Now, if I haven't lost my drill bit, I'll be able to drill a hole.
What size bit do you use for the holes?
5/32, I think. Let me see where my drill bits went to. Now it's 7/64.
You use that for both salt and pepper?
Yeah.
And could you mention how you made the layout for the holes
Yes.
in your jig?
Okay. I know that the hole that I drilled inside for salt is 7/8. Which is 8.658 point something or other. So I centered up I put a piece on the lathe and turned it around, and then I turned a recess for a washer, fender washer. And I very carefully marked just inside the 7/8 line. And then if you take your dividers and you set them from the center to the line, that's the distance between the holes. You just mark those off and do 6 times and you've got 6 holes. If you wanted 4, you'd just have to go across. but I like 6 because I like a lot of salt. All right, so this goes on there. Just went through. Now the problem with drilling it by hand, even with a drilling guide, is that it may not be exactly concentric when you get down to the level of the top. And you can fix that by taking it over and drilling it on the drill press, but it's close enough, I think. And don't anybody tell me to wake Reed up because I didn't put him to sleep. Okay. And then get your holes drilled. Now they may not be all the way through yet, but that's okay. We'll take care of that later. Let me check the glue. Where did the glue go? Oh no, oh no. Yeah, looks like it's going to be good now. Okay, all the holes are drilled through. Now I can go back over here. Tighten that up. Oh yeah, that glue is nearly dry. Now, let me get back over here. I center it up and hold it, loosen the chuck, and then tighten it. I'm on the inside of the chuck jaws to hold that pipe nipple. And it does a real good job of it. And again, this is drilled to right there, so I'm going to leave some wood up there. I've just got to take this one off. Gentle curve on the top. So from here that's plenty. All of this has got to go away. So let me get this guy after it. look and see what we've got. All right, I have to continue cutting that. I'll do it with the little one now. If you close your flute, enter the wood, and open your flute. Now we look at it a little bit. Oh yeah, that's going to work out fine. And we've got this much meat left. We've got quite a bit to go yet.
Right? Ron, could you go to the overhead camera so we can see the profile a little?
Yes. Yes. Excellent idea. Don't turn yourself off, you silly shit. Yeah, that one. Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll have to mark them. No, they're all there. All right. Yeah, my holes wandered a little bit. That's just about right. Okay, now before I take that off, here, there's a little piece of I can finish sanding that later.
Ron, how do you finish your shakers?
What's
What
that?
do you finish them with?
I have been using that Parfex 3408, but I'm finding out that it kind of water spots a little bit, so I think I'm going back to lacquer. Okay, the holes are not concentric because I got off and I'm drilling that deep through that. So when you do one, put it on the drill press and drill the holes. That way they'll go straight up and down.
You leave it in the chuck when you put it on the drill press, or do you take it off the copper tube and then reattach it?
Yeah, I would take it off because this is a flat surface. That'll go right down on the drill press, no problem.
Okay. I was worried that I couldn't get it recentered back on the copper tube.
Oh, it'll center itself. And that one, now it's through. Yeah, that'll be one for me. Hey, stay. That'll be one for me to salt my dinner with, as it's and it comes preloaded with sawdust.
Fiber.
A little fiber in your diet's good for you. Yeah. And when you got a little bit of that epoxy snot, you can knock it loose. And then this is the little 1/2-inch electric box plug cover. It makes a nice base for it. And there, you get the nice pommel cut on both sides. And it's rounded, and it's rounded. And people look at that and say, How'd you do that? Well, you start with a piece of wood and you take away everything that doesn't look just like this. Okay. Any questions?
What was the name of this style of turning?
It's called therming, Therming. And if you go to YouTube, you'll find one video by Dick Leisman on therming, and he, of course, does everything to the 9s and to the 10s, and it's I can't stand to do all stuff exactly the right way, so I just do it any old way, and it tends to come out all right for me. But I'm sure there's any number of different ways to do this.
Ron, can you drop you off Spotlight?
What's that?
Can you drop the camera off spotlighting you?
I can certainly try because I'm done being spotlighted. All right, where am I at? Huh. Well, let's see. Did that do it?
No. Should right click on the image and should have remove spotlight on it.
I think you did it.
I think you spotlighted Randy now.
How's that? Now we're on speaker view, I guess.
All right, I moved, yeah, you can adjust your own image to speaker or gallery view.
Yeah, let me go to gallery view. There. How's that?
Oh, I totally forgot the show and tell.
Well, I got mine in there. You can share a video if you want.
I can hold it for next month, or we can add it in now. I don't see Tim. He's not on. And Paul, was one of them yours?
Yes.
Ron, you'd have to put me back as
No,
host.
you can share. You can share video.
No, I cannot, unless I'm host. Yeah, you have to change that participant able to, you have to disable that before you set up the meeting.
You should be able to. You should be able to share now.
Now I can.
There you go.
All right. Sorry about this, folks. Totally got sidetracked on it. We have a couple instant galleries. Tim, I don't think you're on anymore.
No, he checked out.
Okay, so this was Tim's pedestal bowl. I'll reserve it for next month again.
Yeah.
And Paul, you had something here. You're making a steady rest, I believe.
Yeah, that's a steady rest. And the picture we're showing here is how I made the wing nut on the bottom. It's just two flat pieces of bar steel, and I tack welded them together and had a nut, and I tack welded a nail on each side of it and cut the heads off. Made a little wing net to tighten up the bottom. That piece of wood there was about 5 inches by 6 inches. It was off of a bottom of a pallet, and that's what I used to cut out the saddle to go across the bedways of the lathe. And so if you look in the next photo, there's the way it is mounted. The round circle piece of wood there was a sink cutout that the Colonel gave us quite a few years ago. And I had to purchase the skateboard wheels and the knobs. The rest of it's just shop scrap. And there's another view of the other side of it. And you can, the gray spot in the middle is just where I epoxied the head of the bolt for the bedway lock. But it's rock solid and it works real well.
Great. Good job.
That looks nice.
It'd be a lot better if I had it sanded and painted, but it's just for shop use, so not selling them.
Well, nothing. You can still sand it and paint it.
Yeah.
All right.
The maximum extension that I can get in the middle is 6 1/4 inches with the way the wheels are mounted. If I take the arms off and turn the wheels around so that they're on the other side, it can go a little bit bigger. But, it'll go down to about 7/16 of an inch in the middle. So if you use smaller wheels, well, you can get it down to a smaller hole in the middle. Those are 64 millimeter wheels. When you purchase skateboard wheels, that's the smallest ones they had offered.
Yeah.
I think. Do you have a question, Ron?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
No, I was just going to offer to get somebody a beer if they wanted it.
Yeah, Ken, you can't send those over the video yet.
I'll make it for you.
All right.
He's an Irishman. He's got 4 friends tonight.
Hey, that I am, lad. That I am.
Okay. Ron, thank you. You have given me a good idea and something I'm going to try. I was trying to come up with my next salt and pepper shaker design for my next class. I started years ago making, every time I go to a class at the John C. Campbell, I make them a set of salt and pepper shakers for their dining hall.
Yeah.
Originally, it started out, it was supposed to be a challenge to other turners, and nobody's taken them up on it.
Well, when another turner sees this, they're going to wonder about who the crazy guy was that made him.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Comments, questions, go backs?
Well,
If not, we'll turn it back over to let Ron have it so he can clean up his shop. That's a good thing about the Zoom meetings. We don't have to clean up.
yeah. And I'm going to leave it till tomorrow. I'm going to go in the house.
All right.
Gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you,
very
Ron.
much.
Good job.
Ron, thanks a million.
Yeah, you're welcome. And
Oh.
we'll all leave, and Reed might wake up and go to bed.
Oh, he'll wake up when you send him the bill.
Thank you, Ron.
All right.
Okay.
All
I'll stick
right,
around
Ron,
until everybody else drops off.
nice show, Ron.
Thank you.